Hey friends, so excited to have you back and to continue our learning and deep dive into restorative. So now we're adding on by looking at the sequencing of restorative classes. So what we've recognized is that the main issues of chronic stress are really tied to immune system and GI issues, right? So what is really important within offering restorative is to induce the relaxation response or teach people how to relax, right? Based on learnings of the nervous system and how important it is for us to take time and chill out. This is what we're looking at as a focus throughout the class. This can be hard for people. Relaxing can be such a foreign concept. The way that I can really bring this to understanding is like when people go to bed. A lot of people have to have some kind of noise or white noise to support them in falling asleep. Because if not, for some people, this is the only time in their day that they're actually quiet, and that's right before they fall asleep. So when do you think is an ideal time for the mind to start speaking, right? When it will be paid attention to, and when will it be paid attention to in the quiet? So for some people, the only quiet they will have in an entire day is exactly then when they go to sleep. So here, the idea is that we are not replacing sleep. We're preparing the body for a more restful sleep by finding relaxation. So here is how we induce it. We invite these three ideas how to relax. First and foremost, by having a focal point. So this is where it can be very helpful to have a theme, and or the next two lectures are really about like meditation and pranayama within the restorative class. So that can be the focal point. Education, like I love to do, can be the focal point. We can't relax if we're judging. So without judgment is very important. How can we just like get out of the mind and the thinking and the stuff? And consistency. Over time, the more that one practices relaxation, the more one can relax. So here are 4 keys to relaxation, and therefore they must be in your class. Okay, number 1, quiet. So it's really hard to practice any type of yoga nidra or restorative, sometimes even yin, if there's a bunch of noises going on in and around the space, because it's distracting, right? It's quiet time, which gives us the freedom and the openness to look at what else is going on in life. And when that happens, if there's noise, and we can just pull ourselves out by paying attention to everything else. Safety is very important. Safety in the space, safety with the teachers, safety with the other students. And that's, safety, as according to trauma-informed training, is like not something that we can create. It's in the eye of the beholder. Yet, what we can do is all the things that we are able to create a safe space. And so here, I would say the things that we're talking about, your intention, the way that you talk, the people that are in class, the space set and setting, and then also like the props. You can set the props up in a way that the person feels like rather cocooned and in the safety of their own space. And then warmth. I've talked about this a lot. When the body chills, the body like chills out, the body gets cold. So it's important that there's always blankets and that you turn the heat up in the room probably a bit more than normal. We really want to target the parasympathetic system. So anything relaxing. So breath is really helpful. Interoception. So we really want to focus people on going inside, to listening, to chilling, to stop thinking. Meditation can be very helpful. And then by soothing the vagus nerve, we're able to also support one in finding chill. So ujjayi is very stimulating. The vagus nerve travels through a hole in the diaphragm. And so when we do any type of diaphragmatic breathing, then it's like massaging the vagus nerve, which is chilling the vagus nerve, which is chilling the overall system. So I think that the quality of your voice is key. I mean, if you're yelling and screaming, if you're too quiet, also, like, don't be so yogi that nobody can hear you, because then they strain and they pull themselves out of the postures. Like, have a loud voice so people can hear you, but don't be so loud. Like, and then the tone, like, I could talk in the same way that I'm talking there, just like this. And that's more distracting than my normal voice, right? But also, if I get too deep into things, like, it can just be weird what we're offering. So ensure that you are confident in what you're saying. And you have to be familiar with this space in order to share it. So you need to be able to relax before you can talk other people into relaxing. You can't be this like go, go, go person being like, you need to relax and I don't listen to anything that I say. So I really loved these descriptors that I found in some of the different trainings and textbooks and things that I've been using to create this course. And restorative is sitting on the fence of consciousness. So it's not falling asleep, but it's not being awake. Restorative doesn't create agitation. It supports in recognizing there is agitation. I've said this over and over again. Trying to imprint a different way of being. So it's like anchoring the ability to relax. Restorative is reduced muscle tension, which equals increased circulation. So how can anything pump into this, right? If you hold this for 10 minutes, by the time you open your hands will be white, and then you'll feel the blood rush in as the circulation returns. So when we're able to relax, then our circulation is increased, and that's really important for also removing toxins and waste and healthy tissues. Restorative is decreased stress hormones, which equal regulation of the amygdala firing. So, the amygdala is the lens, the emotional lens through which we see everything, and it really can taint in both a good and a bad way, depending on which lens it is you're looking for. It can taint the way that everything processes and works. Restorative is rest, which prepares us for sleep. We need to rest every single day. And it's important that you within restorative have a tactic for waking people happy. So we don't want to do all this work, a 90-minute class, and then you go over to wake someone up and they fucking jump. Like, no, everything that you just did, like, boom, nervous system, sympathetic engagement on, and then back to all this work that we did. It kind of is like for naught because this person's freaked out. So yeah, that's what I've got for you in there. So relaxation posture, basic relaxation pose is the foundational restorative pose that practices deliberate stillness. And think about this, like, most of our lives we spend in movement. The fetus moves in the womb in the first few weeks. Our days are just filled with technological conveniences that allow us to get lots more done faster. And even while we're sleeping, we're moving. The yogic antidote to all of this is the simple act of being still while laying down. Stillness is just the beginning. Lying down quiets the gross movements of the body, which give us entrance to a richer landscape. I want you to imagine, like, if you, like, really the fist test, right? This is us all day long. This is tension. This is grasping. This is us, like, doing stuff, and just, like, try to get something into your hands with this, right? Like, it's pretty hard to do the thing. Sure, you can do it, but, like, first of all, look what happens when you relax, and then look how much easier it is And it doesn't take so much effort either, right? When I've opened my hands, I've gone from using 2 arms to 1. So relaxation pose is a really great place to start pretty much all of your restorative classes. Now you don't have to, but this posture overhaul is something that I would give people for homework. It's something that I think is, really key for the practice. So when we're in stillness, it's easy to notice that nothing's still. There's the rise and the fall of the abdomen. We have the heart beating, the blood moving through the body, and even the gurgling sounds from our tummy. And then there's the mind. It's jumping from thought to thought, past to future, like totally resisting stillness. So why spend time in basic relaxation pose if everything is always moving? Here's why we use props, because they relieve the muscles and bones of their roles of support and action. And then the nervous system sends and receives fewer messages and slows down, and then it becomes quieter. And as this happens, then the layers of tension start to melt away, and you learn to be present with what's happening in your body in that moment, in your mind in that moment, being able to see things through a new lens and to be more aware and more in touch and more embodied. So this is what restorative does. It cultivates the habit of attention, and it supports people in learning to identify how and where we're holding tension, and then consciously release it. And it offers the opportunity to discover a clear space from which to make life's choices. The practice allows us the opportunity to come into harmony with the body's normal rhythms, and living by these rhythms is the good key to health. When we're so busy, how can you take any cues from your body? If you are so busy, you're not listening, like at all. So this overall is just such an amazing practice because it helps you to see the spaces within you, the spaces that need love, the spaces that need more, the spaces that are full and tense, the spaces that hurt, and to actually have like a conversation or acknowledgement with those spaces, which is really what's going to make a difference. I was sitting in teacher training a while ago, and it was a silent day. And as always, such a perfect day. I had told everybody, let's meet at the small studio at this retreat center, because I thought that's where we were supposed to meet that day. Turns out I was a day ahead of myself, but I show up, I don't realize what's happening. So I see there is myself and 2 other students, but there's like 2 more students that are missing. I'm like, oh, they must have forgotten and gone to the big studio. So I sit there and I think, and we're in silence for the day. So I sit there and I think about what do I do? Do I go and get them? Do I let them stay there? But what about like the other yoga class is going to go there? Like, what do I do? So I think, well, I'm their teacher. I'm supposed to be guiding the experience. So I'm going to go up there and let them know. So I go up, hey, come on, guys, let's go. So we go to the small studio, and I know we're laying there, and I start to like lift my shirt up to get a bit of tan on my belly, and I'm really enjoying things. And all of a sudden it hits me, no, we're not supposed to be here till tomorrow. Shit, which means that another person's supposed to be teaching. So I sit up and I look, and there's another teacher. And I'm like, oh no, I've made such a big mistake. So I pull everyone out, and then I go talk to the teacher, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't mean to do that. Thank you for understanding. And then we're done early, and we're going to go have lunch in silence. So we go down and we have lunch in silence. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like what did I just do? I'm such a piece of crap. I effed up so bad. Everybody probably thinks I'm such a loser. Like I just went for it, and I became aware. I'm like, wow, that was pretty quick to like feel like an idiot. So this is the parts of me to be loved now. And so I'm sitting there, and all I want to do is explain to everybody what happened. And we're in silence, and I keep thinking, that's okay. I can talk because I'm the teacher. And I just about say something like several times, but like I remember in my head, I'm like, no, sit with this. Let people think whatever they want. It doesn't matter, Colin. You're not a piece of shit. It's not a big deal. Nobody died. Like everything's okay. And just in that moment, I'm sitting there and I have a shiver, and the shiver goes down the back of my neck and then over to where my shoulder is hurting me and has been for a little bit. And it hits me. That's your judgment. Your shoulder hurts because you're so judgy. And I'm judgy. I'm judgy of myself mainly, which means how I do anything is how I do everything. So I'm judgy about other people. And this isn't ever going to change. Like, I'm never going to be kind to myself if I continue to be judgy of other people. And I consistently share stories in teacher training about like spiritual people and so many things, and people laugh and it's funny, and I'm, hitting on the truth and making it a joke, but like, it's my judgment. And because I'm making it a joke, I'm bypassing the fact that I'm actually judging people and telling other people in a teacher training where I'm talking about not being judgmental. So it hits me. And you know what? If I hadn't been silent, if I hadn't been relaxing, and if I hadn't been present in my body, I never would have felt that connection, which then means I never would have come to the idea of being so judgmental, which means then I never would have recognized like what I do. So it was huge. And that's the thing, is like, the more that I know relaxation, chill, my body, the koshas, the more I know these things, the more I'm able to go into my own body and take the cues. Because what I am recognizing is like, right, we've got the nervous system, we've heard about this, like gazelle in the wild, it discharges after, it regulates after dysregulation. Like, it comes to the realization of like discharging the nervous system post induction of sympathetic response. Like, we need to come back and chill out. And if the gazelle didn't do that, if the gazelle didn't discharge, the gazelle would have anxiety because it would be constantly in fear that the cheetah was going to come and get it, because it'd be storing that emotion within the fascial system. Right. And then being conscious, we make stories about that. And it's like, it becomes a whole thing. And so with us, with this, our body trying to tell us like, hey, I'm still here, from when you like were so sad about your mom not loving your painting. And then you got with a partner who didn't love your work either. Like, I'm still here. Disappointment is still here. And so it's an opportunity for us to heal, but we don't see it that way. We feel it as anxiety. We label it as panic. Like, our body is trying to talk and we're not speaking the same language. Have you ever been in another country and not been able to speak the same language? I mean, this can go a couple different ways. Today, I just went and traveled around and like talked and walked with the guy that I bought this property off of. And he's amazing. And he speaks, well, I probably speak more Spanish than he speaks English. Regardless, we had a full-on conversation. I felt very safe with him. He took me around his other property. Like, that turned out really beautiful. Yet I have been in the same situation where I'm lost and I'm trying to get out, and I'm in the city and nobody speaks English and I don't speak Spanish. And it's like, I'm panicked. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. And then they're like, because they're so passionate, they're telling me go to the left up there. But because they're like, a la izquierda, in the corner, and da da da. And I'm like, oh, what do you say? Are you mad at me? So this is the miscommunication between the body, because you're not in your body, because you don't know your body's language. Because instead of dealing with a lot of the language, you've just been stuffing it and then ignoring it. So it needs to speak louder. It needs to get your attention. And in restorative, when we chill, we have the opportunity to dive into that, supported, safe, to communicate and to understand and to get into the body so that we know more, we can go deeper, and we can actually find those answers. And so restorative. So how it works. Restorative helps relieve the effects of chronic stress in several ways. Firstly, the props provide this like really supportive environment that offers complete relaxation. Okay, think about these women here, or these people, and they're sitting here and you can see that their heads are on a block. Now imagine they didn't have their heads on a block. What do you think that would feel like in the head? Relaxing? No. So for an example, the props are very supportive. Secondly, when we design our sequences, it's to help move the spine in all the directions. So the movements illustrate the age-old wisdom that teaches well-being is enhanced by a healthy spine. Back bends, forward bends, gentle twists on both sides. So we want to be offering these within each class. And then third, a well-sequenced restorative practice also includes an inverted pose, which reverses the effects of gravity, which can be as simple as a pillow under the legs. Because peeps stand or sit most of the day, blood and lymph accumulate in the lower extremities. When we change the relationship of the legs to gravity, fluids are returned to the upper body and heart function is enhanced. So what I'm hearing here is we need to support total relaxation with the environment based on all the things I said at the beginning of this. Second, we need to move the spine in all of the directions. So we've said back bends, forward bends, gentle twists on both sides. So let's look at the 7 directions of the spine, okay? First, we have axial extension. So I want you to imagine while you're sitting then that someone has a string and they're pulling up in the crown of your head. Find yourself grow taller. Okay, so lengthen your spine. That's axial extension. The next piece is lateral flexion. So the flexion part is happening in the direction of the movement. So I'm to my right, I'm flexing laterally to the side of my body on the right. And while I'm doing that, I'm extending laterally on the left. So lateral flexion and extension. Flexion, extension. Okay, extension, back bend. Flexion, forward bend. And then rotation to the right and rotation to the left. These are the 7 directions of the spine. So you want to try to get those. If we miss lateral flexion and extension, cool. Like if you miss some of those things, cool. We do want to just like make sure that we're moving the spine in many directions. And then inversions, it sounds like, as a well-sequenced restorative practice includes an inverted pose. So we want to make sure that we're doing that because it helps the heart by giving the heart a break. Finally, restorative yoga alternately stimulates and soothes the organs by folding forward on the abdomen, then opening with a back bend. The abdominal organs are squeezed, forcing the blood out, and then open, so flesh blood returns to soak the organs. So the movement of blood comes, with the movement of blood comes the enhanced exchange of oxygen and waste products across the cell membrane. So knowing that what we're doing is like this idea of the blood like almost starving the tissues for a second and then allowing the fresh blood to flood into the area. So how can we structure that? Okay, a restorative yoga class typically involves 5 to 8 poses supported with props and is held anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, like each posture is. So here are some guiding principles for sequencing your restorative. And this is, this could be anywhere from a 60 to a 90-minute restorative class. I mean, 90 minutes, a 5-minute or 5 postures, not unheard of. 8 postures, I mean, yeah. So we can be holding 5 to 15 minutes per posture. Think about doing like a very supported, reclined hero's pose. You're not going to hold that for a long amount of time. That's not freaking relaxing, right? But it is a big back bend for the back. And if you can involve a bunch of props, then you can find some relaxation in the posture, which allows for so much more. So let's look at what you need to do to support you in really creating these amazing restorative classes. And I think it starts with your students. Like, what is it that your students are there for? What are their goals? It's important that you understand it, what they want to get from their experience, because most people come to restorative class seeking relief from pain or to find that chill atmosphere. So I want you to think about these goals as you prepare for your class. You can speak with your students before and after to get a clearer idea of their objectives. And from there, you can prepare your classes by what they've told you. So you don't have to be like, hey, Janice, like, what are you looking for class? Like, when you introduce yourself, like, hey, my name is Quinn. I'll be your yoga teacher today. Like, how are you feeling? What are you here for today? Like, what is it you're hoping to get out of class? Also, what brought you to this class? What brought you to restorative? And then that's not just like, what can I offer you today? It's like, why are people coming to restorative? If they're like, oh, my doctor told me to, or maybe they're like, I need, I love restorative. I'm here. This is my only break that I get. When you start to recognize, like, a lot of people come for the same reasons. And so then the more that you know, the more that you can offer within your classes. And of course, safety is first for any yoga class. So it's important that you ensure nothing in your class could hurt the student. Some people attend class to overcome emotional and physical difficulties, which means they're in a space of vulnerability. So be aware of neck injuries, be wary of using inversions with people that are menstruating or have heart disease. Like, just be aware of what's happening with your students so that you can offer alternatives if it's not working for them. Let them know you don't have to do it. You can do whatever you want. So sequencing, be prepared for emotional release. During a restorative class, students will likely undergo significant muscular and stress relief, which is inevitable due to the whole nature of the class, which could bring about a subsequent emotional release for your students. And if you're prepared for it, it won't catch you by surprise. A professional teacher can meet one's emotions with tranquility and passion. We had a student in one of the yoga studios that I used to teach in. And interestingly enough, she was someone that I knew from my childhood. So this person clearly had some things going on. And I knew her history. I was a kid. There were all the rumors about this person and her brother and what the stepdad did to them and like how hard their life was. And they were dirty and they were stinky. And there was just like so many things they were made fun of and then I see this woman appear in my yoga classes and, she shared with me that her brother had become an addict with meth and killed himself, that, she shared that her mom's a mess and that stepdad's a piece of shit and went to jail for what he did to them. And like, so I knew this person was coming with a lot and I had already heard about them. I didn't put together that this was it because I hadn't seen this woman since we were kids and she was younger than me as well. And so I had heard about her from the other teachers about her being like dramatic, possible like mental health issues. And so there she is in my class and she knows exactly who I am. And I was not the nicest to her, that's for sure. I also wasn't the meanest, but I was not the nicest kid. And yeah, she came and like, do you remember me? And I was like, whoa, holy shit. Like, yeah. And kind of a little bit of a catch up, and she held resentment, and I don't blame her. I understand that a lot happened in her life. And I remember when Shavasana would come, she would bawl like so loud. And part of me was like, good. And then the other part of me is like, you're making everybody else in the class uncomfortable. Like, this isn't just a class for you. This is a class for everybody. So yeah, it was a lot. And she was eventually asked like to leave the studio in general. And I would come and I would say like, hey, do you want to leave the class? It's kind of disrupting other people. I can come and talk to you outside. Yeah, it was an awkward situation to deal with. And still, it was not okay for her to behave that way. This was not a place to have catharsis. This is a restorative yoga class. So I welcome big emotions. And there are boundaries to that. So I just want to let you know. I mean, it was a really uncomfortable thing to deal with. And eventually she left and went to another studio. So I think it's important to encourage at-home practice. The benefits of restorative or experience, like participating in class, and not just once or twice a week, but like more. So even if you can send students home with homework, like one posture that they need to do daily to help them go deeper, this is going to help them in their restorative class in general. Teach them poses they can do without assistance. When designing the perfect class, as with any yoga class, it's essential that sequencing is done with the student's goals in mind. So with that, you can create these therapeutic and engaging classes. So keep these things in mind. First of all, use props, like so many props. This is what restorative is known for. Restorative is not meant to have strain, and it's to be chill. And props make it more comfortable and communicate to the body that it can be chill, that it's not going to die. Okay, keep things slower pace. Remember the pace as foundational and ensure that you're not trying to put too many postures into one sequence. Stay present in the moment. If anything, cut postures out. Don't try to add more or speed it up, like literally cut postures out and have a longer shavasana. Plan for slow transitions. The fast ones, they just don't belong in restorative. Like, give your students time to sit before transitioning into the next pose. And offer a completely relaxed atmosphere. Ensure your students time to regain a neutral and centered feeling before directing them to a different posture. So I always like move us out and I talk and I kind of like say there's absolutely no rush. I'm setting up the props in advance for the next posture, and you just sit there and take some breaths. And when you are ready, take your prop and bring it in front of you. And then I like guide them into the next one. And people are in all different stages and I'll talk to it. Like, you don't even have to be up yet. Know that I'm just setting up and preparing for the next posture so that when you are there, you know exactly where to go. Start the class with purposeful relaxation. Let people know this is what we're doing. And since this is the core of restorative, the students will likely not experience this aspect of the postures if the class isn't started with a purposeful relaxation. Right? And then leave time for extended shavasana. It doesn't matter that it's a slow class. We still need shavasana. So this is where the spiritual and emotional release is most likely to occur. So ensure that you don't cut it short to add more poses. The final moments of letting go are always worth the time. So sequencing further. All right, begin with diaphragmatic awareness or simple pranayama or gentle movements. And then you can have one upright posture to transition, totally up to you. Down dog, forward fold, easy pose. And then the idea is move the spine in the directions. Here we're looking at forward fold, back bend, side bend, maybe a rotation. And then add an inversion for the heart, the legs, the blood, the lymphatic flow. And then as you're moving through, encourage this non-judgmental introspection and silence. You could add gentle myofascial work, preferably at the beginning, to stimulate hydration and communication of the connective tissues and to normalize nervous system connections. It's totally up to you what you want to offer here. You can choose a focal point, like stimulating and soothing the organs. So compressing and opening to refresh the tissues, fatigue, the immune system, relaxation, stress, digestion, reproductive health, heart, respiratory, energetic, emotional, spiritual, mental balance. Just give them something to focus on throughout the entire class and keep it going. And let's look at the 2 stages of Shavasana, right? We've got number 1, relaxation, getting comfortable, trying to get the pose right. Here's something really important. It takes about 15 minutes in Shavasana for the blood pressure and the heart rate to slow. So if we're looking at Shavasana, it should be a minimum of 15 minutes. And then pratyahara, right? One of the 8 limbs of yoga, it's withdrawing the senses. So no longer looking out, but rather looking in. It helps with a healing state, helps with heaviness and feeling heavy. There should be no interest in opening the eyes, no ambition, no goals, no desires. Maybe we can hear things, but we don't want to get lost in the story. You can even imagine the body as a warm pool of consciousness. Here in Shavasana, in the end of Shavasana, we want to be less identified with the thoughts and ego. So here we look at meditation and pranayama, which are key aspects to a posture practice in order to create the actual practice of yoga, right? In the sutras, it talks about the only way to detoxify the body is with asana, pranayama, and meditation. So here we have the opportunity to make that happen like 100% because we have the space. So how could you weave them into class? Well, you can start having them at the beginning. You could start by taking some breaths and then running through a meditation and then moving through the class. You could do the opposite. You could start the class. You could then end with meditation and breathing to pull them out. You could have it at the beginning and the end. You could start a certain way, end the same way. You could start one way, end a different way. And then you could also, which I prefer, is from the beginning to the end. So you pick a meditation, you pick a breath, and you stay consistent throughout. Find Ujjayi and then have it throughout the entire practice. And meditate on metta. Every posture that you move into, go back to, may you be well, may you have peace, may you be free from suffering. Whatever that might be, like it could also be ahimsa, like just finding this space where it's weaved throughout. So you could add a warm-up flow. Sometimes for like students that are newer to restorative, this is a way to kind of like prepare the body to chill out. So you can warm them up. The newer the students, the more vigorous the warm-up. In classes of 75 minutes to 2 hours, you could add 15 to 30 minutes of meditation and warm-up. And then here's what I found from what's her name. I love that I didn't put her name in there, from one of my references. So simple neck stretches, simple shoulder rolls, hip circles, wide angle posture, butterfly and dandasana, some cat-cow, some downward facing dog. You can add anything that you want to and then move into restorative. You also don't have to do this. You can do whatever you want, literally. So I also added and shared some class plans that I have. This is a person on Etsy. I paid, I think it was like $20, and I downloaded, and she had restorative, which is why I did it. But it has a ton of other props. She had all of these class plans, which include like what type, the duration, the props, the inspiration, the beginning thoughts, and meditation. And then also like, it's amazing. So I can put the links to her in here. And then I also did the stick drawing one as well and bought the commercial rights so I can bring it into the manual and stuff. So here's some, and I'm sharing this from a place of not having it in the manual, sharing my personal class plans with you, because I don't want to get in trouble for like making it like, this is how you do it. So what I did here is I come up with the inspiration. So life is a balance of holding on and letting go. And then I dive into the balance of holding on to things and letting go of what is no longer serving. I pick Ujjayi breath. And then here we are, we can move through the different postures and make sure there's an inversion. So we've got a back bend, we're starting a supported cobblers, mountain brook, Supported bridge, legs up, there's the inversion, there's the twists, and then there's the forward fold, supported straddle, and then Shavasana. Here, the yoga inspiration, yoga is not about touching your toes, it's about what you learn on the way down. And then this is the lessons of restorative yoga. Like, what are you learning from being still? And here I've got 3-parter Durga breath. We start in constructive rest. There's our forward fold. So cobblers, supported childs. And then here I do belly twists, and then restorative hero, and then supine, and then Shavasana. Like, I made this all, they're 90-minute classes, 9 postures, like whatever that looks like. I could cut something out if I wanted to. Here's another one. The nature of yoga is to shine the light of awareness into the darkest corners of the mind. So what are some things that you weren't wanting to look at? And here we're going to use square breath, and we're going to bring it throughout all of the postures. Here we do supported fish, supported forward fold, supported swan, both sides, supported sphinx, supported waterfall. There's the inversion. We've got the forward and back bends. We've got restorative banana. So there's the lateral flexion and extension, and then a fish shavasana. Yoga is not about self-improvement, it's about self-acceptance. Here we're doing Ho'oponopono and conscious breath. So constructive rest to start, supported crocodile, there's a forward bend, restorative hero, there's a back bend, belly twist, there are twists. And then I do supine twist with blanket, and then a total shavasana with like knees up in the air. 2 more for you. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. Rumi. Here I'm going to learn to teach about personal responsibility and teach mental Nadi Shavana. We'll start in supported forward fold, move to mountain brook, supported butterfly, restorative banana, both sides, supported cobbler, supported straddle, supported waterfall, and Shavasana. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. Let the light in to heal all that is ready to be healed. Conscious breath. We do restorative hero, supported child's pose, supported straddle, supported head to knee, belly twist, supported bridge, and Shavasana. Notice that like these Shavasanas are also inversions. So there's some sequencing for you. I'm going to include a lot more sequences at the end as well. Just for you, you could take them, you can use them, feel free. None of them are really like mine. I mean, we have only so many postures, but you can also get very creative in the postures that you're offering. As long as you have a bunch of props, you can be doing a lot of different things. So I hope this has been helpful. And actually, we're going to go more into the next 2 lectures, like what kind of meditations can you add into the restorative class? And then how do you do that? How do you do it from beginning to end? And then the next lecture after that will be pranayama. We'll break it up so that you can like take them. But the idea is also you're going to be offering both. So let's just say we get everybody into restorative hero. We know that's not going to be a long time. So I'm going to get you in, and I'm going to start to get you to become aware of your breath. Maybe you'll deepen your breath. Maybe you'll follow the path of your breath. And as you're following the path of your breath, I want you to think about the fact that you're breathing into your lungs and your heart, right? And know that your heart is such a delicate and vulnerable space. Maybe there's something in there that is, the wound is the place where the light enters you. Maybe you're ready to let go of something here. So as you breathe in, let the light in to heal all that is ready to be healed. And as you breathe out, release it all. So then we move into a meditation, which is a white light, black smoke meditation. Inhale white light, exhale black smoke. Change postures, continue to breathe. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths in, nice, long, slow, deep breaths out. Follow the breath up into the nostrils, to the back of the throat, down the throat, into each lung. Feel it come from each lung back out the throat, out the mouth, continue. And as you breathe in, remember that white healing light making its way into your lungs and spreading throughout your organs. And then we move into supported straddle. Continue to breathe. Come back to that breath. Come back to being aware of your breath. And as you do that, inhale white light and exhale black smoke. The black smoke is all of that anxiety. all of the negativity, all of the stuff you're ready to let go of, as the white light comes in and heals your wound. Allow that wound to be visualized as black smoke leaving your mouth, leaving your nose. And then as we go through each posture, just come back to the breath, come back to the meditation. So I hope this helps. I'm looking forward to continuing with the next couple of lectures to dive a little bit deeper into the sequencing / theming / meditation / pranayama of running a restorative class, which I think is very similar and completely different than any of the other yoga that we teach. All right, friends, see you soon.